It's Wolf, and today I'm going to be gaming on some not usually gaming hardware and software. This time we've got a Chromebook. This appears to be a Lenovo IdeaPad 1. I know it's a Lenovo IdeaPad, but I haven't really been able to find anything that says exactly which model it is, because I bought it used. Got it for a pretty good price, but given the price point and the specs that it has, it seems to be an IdeaPad 1. Speaking of specs, I should show you guys some of that. So first off, let me show you the storage this has. This has 64 gigabytes of storage, and let me find the other settings page so I can show you guys the CPU and stuff. Alright, here we are. Here's the diagnostics page. So since it's a laptop, it does have a battery, and actually I'm surprised with the battery health and all this, because I mean, this is a little older, I think. When I bought it, though, it was in pretty good condition when I got it, so it may just not have really been used very much. It has an Intel Celeron N4020 CPU, and it's actually running better now than earlier. This is the second time I'm recording this video because I ran into a bunch of issues the first time with not updating stuff because I haven't used this computer in a couple weeks, so there's a bunch of things that need to be updated. Originally it was sitting at like 100% usage, not doing anything, but now it's dropped down to about 25%. But speaking of that, it's important to remember that I am doing dual screens here. I'm recording this using my Elgato. I've got a USB-C adapter that has an HDMI port on it, and then I'm using that HDMI to the Elgato to my normal main computer to record this. So it might run a little bit slower than normal because it is outputting on two different displays, and it also has 4 gigabytes of RAM. So that is the specs of this Chromebook. So I think the first thing we're going to take a look at is Krunker, because Krunker is pretty much designed for this type of device. It's pretty much built in mind with the idea of being a game that kids in like middle and high school can play on their Chromebook at lunch and study hall and stuff. It runs okay once it loads in. It's taking a minute to load in, and I think also I'm getting some lag because I'm not the only one using my Wi-Fi network right now. But now that it's kind of loaded in and the game has started, it's running pretty well. It's a little bit laggy. I don't think you can change, well, I think you maybe are able to change some of Krunker's like visual settings and stuff in the browser version. I don't remember how to do it, but I think I may have already changed them before, because these don't look super maxed out. These look pretty low settings, so I may have changed that before when I first got this and was messing around with it. But while we're playing Krunker, I think now is a good time to mention my sort of overall thoughts about Chromebook ownership. So the first time I ever owned, kind of like borrowed a Chromebook and used it with any regularity was actually in high school. I kind of got caught at the beginning of when they started having everybody carry around Chromebooks in high school. It was like my senior year, I think, that they started doing Chromebooks. And it was really annoying because, like, I hated it. I did not like it at all because the Chromebooks we had, for one, were really ugly. They were really ugly ones, and they weren't really useful for anything because that was relatively early in like the Chromebook like development type of thing. There wasn't much you could do on a Chromebook at that point, whereas now you can kind of do more on Chromebooks. So pretty much I just had this thing, like an extra thing I had to lug around school all day, and I did not like it. I pretty much never used it either. I didn't ever use it at home. I used it at school every now and again to work on something during a study hall or whatever if I needed a computer to work on it with, but I really never used it. And it was annoying too because it also gave teachers an excuse to bother you outside of class because now they knew everybody had a computer that they could check their email and stuff. So I always was really frustrated with it back then. However, now owning my own and like having been able to choose what it was and everything, this one is actually pretty nice. I like the design of it. A lot of Lenovo Idea branded stuff is pretty nicely designed. The specs for it aren't great, but it is actually pretty snappy, and I've complained about Windows, I think in the video I did a couple months ago where I tried to play some games on a 2014 Mac Mini, and Windows has just been getting under my skin lately with how slow everything in Windows always feels. It feels like there's always crap that Windows is doing in the background, whereas with Chrome OS, it's so snappy. Like, everything works really well, and even if a program is lacking, you can usually still access the like underlying Chrome OS features without any lag, so that's really nice. And as you guys will see in a little bit, if Chrome/Linux had more gaming support, and if this just was like a higher end Chromebook with a better processor and stuff, gaming on it actually would be not that bad. And as it is, I was very surprised with what this was able to do. So, yeah, also, while I'm still playing Krunker, I want to mention, I was going to try to play Roblox in this video, but Roblox was just totally not working for me. The version of Roblox on here that you have to use, since there's not one native to Chrome OS or Linux, is the Google Play Store version of it, and I just can't seem to get it to run. When I first got this and was messing around with it, I did get it to play Roblox a little bit, but it pretty much only would work on the really simple games. Like more modern, more complicated Roblox games wouldn't really run very well. So it's not a great experience. It is kind of cool that you can get stuff from the Play Store, because it's like an interesting middle ground between mobile and like not desktop, but laptop gaming. But yeah, Roblox doesn't run super well. Anyway, with that victory, that is pretty much perfect timing to go ahead and jump into Steam. So Steam normally Steam can be downloaded on Chrome OS, but it's very picky about it. So as you see, we have the Steam page here. If I go to hit install Chrome OS and then I open Steam Installer, it says can't install Steam on this Chromebook. Steam for Chromebook beta is not available on your Chromebook. It is available on some models of Chromebook, mostly the more powerful ones, and there are some games that will natively run on Steam OS and stuff. It's very iffy. It's not that common. But Chrome OS has a function where you can actually use Linux stuff, because Chrome OS is like kind of based on Linux or whatever, or Android or whatever. Anyway, if you go down to About Chrome OS and you go down to Developers, you can get a Linux development environment where you can open Linux apps in a sort of virtual machine wrapper thing. I don't know exactly how it all works, but I did that, and actually it was very easy to get this to work. I remember being surprised. I don't remember exactly how I did it, because it was like months ago now that I did this, but I'm thinking I might make another video where I try to show how I got this all set up. Anyway, though, pretty much when you do that Linux environment thing, if I remember right, it gives you a folder where you can put Linux apps, and then you put them in there, and then it kind of does everything else for you. So we're going to go ahead and launch Steam. Now, I already launched Steam a minute ago to update a bunch of stuff, but normally when it launches Steam, it'll like say there's an error. Yeah, here it is. It'll say there's something that needs like authentication, and pretty much if I just hit enter through this, it just still works. I don't know what exactly that is, but whatever. So now the Linux version of Steam will load up on Chrome OS. So Steam has loaded up. Like I said, this is the Linux version of Steam that is loaded up. So again, it's kind of running through like a compatibility layer thing, which it's interesting because some of these games are actually going to be playing through like 2 layers of compatibility. So I've got 3 games on here. The thing that's a little bit frustrating is that, like, since this has such small amount of memory, you can't really install that much on here, so I didn't get to actually test a lot of stuff. I tried a few things. These things were the most interesting things I found. Fallout New Vegas and Call of Duty 4 are running through another compatibility layer. They are running through Proton on Steam, which is how it's like a wine wrapper. I think it's based on wine that allows you to run Windows games on Linux. So for those two, it's actually Windows game on Linux on SteamOS. But it's kind of incredible because they do still run. I don't know how well they'll run because when I tested both of them, I was still pretty much in the tutorial. But Postal 2 is actually the Linux native version of Postal 2. So this one is not going through a bunch of hoops to play. So I'm going to start out with that one. Now, this might take a while to launch because it likes to try to do Vulkan shaders, and this can take a while. When I was messing around with this a minute ago, this was taking forever, but hopefully now that I've updated a bunch of stuff, it won't take so long. Okay, that did not take nearly as long as it was when I was messing with it earlier. Alright, game has launched, and Postal 2, from my testing, seems to run pretty much fine. I haven't really played it, but if I remember right, this save file is from right after the intro cutscene. So we can launch into that. Now, a minute ago also when I was playing with this, it took forever. It took so long to load into the game that I gave up, but it looks like it's working better with me this time. It does run, though. I already did mess around with this a little bit. So here we are in Postal 2, And something I've noticed a lot about some of the stuff on running it on Chrome OS is that it can be a little bit laggy when it first starts, but once everything kind of gets loaded in, it'll kind of work with you. So I don't know, some of my settings might actually even be able to get lowered a little bit. I think I might have everything. Got everything on mostly the lowest settings. The only other thing too with doing it this way is you can't actually change your video resolution. There is sort of a weird workaround with changing video resolution, but when I was messing with it earlier, when I was trying to make this video originally, I actually ran into more issues than fixes when I did that. If you go into one of the display setting things, there's a option for like display and font size. If you make that bigger, it actually lowers the resolution. It says that your resolution is like something else, and that kind of lowers the resolution, but not exactly. And as I said, it can actually cause more issues than fixes. So I don't really have anything in the game yet, but as you can see, I mean, it's not running at like a solid frame rate or anything really, but it's not awful. I think you could probably play through Postal 2 like this without too many issues, except for maybe the like more intense moments with like explosions and stuff. But the thing is, Postal 2 doesn't really have that much intense stuff that goes on in the game. So I mean, it all works pretty much okay. I think of the games out there, Postal 2 would run pretty well. Actually, let me see if I can get some stuff with cheats and like try to see if I can blow something up to see how the game handles that. So let's see. So yeah, the game's lagging a little bit with some more things going on, but I mean, it's not bad. It's still pretty much playable. And I'm sure if you turned settings down like even more, it would probably be alright. But it's one of these situations where the way I view it is like, if you're somebody that you only have a Chromebook or whatever to play games on, I mean, it works. Like you could play this way. It wouldn't be the most best gaming experience ever, but like you can play it. So even we've gotten into this shootout now, and it's still playing. Oh, it's kind of freezing up now. Yeah, okay, so we kind of lost that there then, but I mean, let me try. I really wish you could mess with the resolution to lower that more, but I mean, let's see. We remove blood and gore, that'll probably help. And then if we put everything on the absolute lowest. Okay. So now I've lowered everything to the absolute minimum. Need to change weapons. There we go. It's acting kind of weird. It's not letting me change weapons, but as you guys can see, it's not running horribly. I don't know why I can't fire my gun or change weapons now, but it's a little bit weird. But anyway, yeah, it's playable, I'd say. Sort of, mostly. If you didn't get into too many intense, like, explosive gunfights in Postal 2, you could probably play it through it on this Chromebook. With enough hope. Okay, maybe I'm being a little too optimistic. I don't know if you actually could play through Postal 2 entirely like that. It would probably be a really big pain to do so. But, like, barely you could probably squeeze your way through Postal 2 like that. Next, let's go ahead and play Call of Duty 4. This also, I think this one worked. And we have this running on Proton 3.7 to 8. So this is actually the Windows version running on Proton for Linux running on SteamOS. That's another thing I noticed a little bit with Proton is that the compatibility with it can be weird. Like the compatibility with some games, you would think that you would always just want the latest version of Proton for stuff, but not always, because I found that some games won't launch under certain versions of Proton, like newer versions, but then if you go to an older version, they'll work fine. I don't know why that is, but that's just how it is. So I believe we've got all of the settings on pretty much the lowest. Let's turn Ragdoll off. Yep, everything here is on the lowest, and actually, I could change the video settings on this game. Probably because of it being running on Proton though. So anyway, let's jump into it and see what happens.
Good news first. The world's in great shape. Got a civil war in Russia. Government loyalists against ultranationalist and 15,000 nukes at stake.
Just another day at the office.
You know the drill. Go to station.
Well, so it was playing the cutscene fine, and then I went to skip the cutscene, and now it has frozen up on me. Alright, well, I think I'm going to go ahead and consider that a no for Chrome OS with the Call of Duty 4. Now, here's what I was saying, though, about how you can still access actual Chrome OS stuff pretty easily after things freeze up like that. So all I did there was hold down the power button, and it still brought me up this menu. So I'm actually just going to restart the Chromebook. But when I hit that, it will literally just shut down, no issues, and yeah, now I just need to restart it. Whereas on Windows, if you try to do that type of thing, half the time it'll give you some big issue and want to argue with you about programs being open and all of that stuff. So after that last part, either I forgot to turn back on the audio commentary recording in the Elgato software, or the Elgato software just glitched out and didn't record anything because none of my commentary got recorded. But after Call of Duty 4 crashed, and, well, it didn't really crash, but just wasn't loading. After that happened, I restarted the Chromebook. It restarted without issue because that's one thing Chromebooks seem really good about. If stuff starts slowing down or crashing or acting weird, if you restart them, they give you pretty much no issues whatsoever. So restarted it, got back into Steam and everything, went ahead and loaded up Fallout New Vegas. I didn't have the patience for waiting for the Vulkan shaders thing to go, so I just clicked out of that, and the game still loaded fine. In Fallout New Vegas, I couldn't really find anywhere to change that many of the settings, and I also couldn't find anywhere to change the resolution either, so I was kind of stuck with the, like, sort of lowest settings, but I think they could have gone even lower if I had found a way to change them. Anyway, since I actually have tested this game on the Chromebook before, and I also actually tested my other computer that I'm going to talk about in a minute here. I tested that with Fallout New Vegas, and there was the Steam cloud save thing. I actually already had a little bit of progress, so I was out of Doc Mitchell's house and went to see Sunny Smiles and did the shooting gallery with her, and it lagged a lot, but it didn't crash or anything, and it was kind of working, but not super playable. And then once we got over to the section where you fight some geckos after that, that's kind of the continuation of the tutorial, that's actually worked perfectly fine. It was kind of funny because the game almost like ran faster when it was in VATS. I guess that's because sort of everything in the game freezes though, besides just the VATS menu. Fighting the geckos did not go very well because it's like actual combat. There was a lot of movement. So Fallout New Vegas would be like, you could kind of play it, but combat would be very difficult because things are gonna like lag a ton, and especially later on in the game whenever you have enemies that have explosives or stuff like that, that would probably also make the game lag a ton. So it's playable, but it's not like actually playable. Overall, this whole video did not actually go as well as I planned because when I was testing, I could have sworn that all these games ran significantly better. And again, I think that part of the issue is doing the dual screens because the computer's having to output to two screens, and I don't know how much that really affects, but I know it must take up some bit of performance. The thing is though, as a concept, this shows that you actually can kind of game on a Chromebook. If you had a more powerful one, I think that the experience would not be so bad, but I think on most Chromebooks, you run into an issue of, on the one hand, Chrome OS is mostly designed for like spreadsheets and emails and things like that, so you don't really need a powerful computer. But then on the other hand, if you want a powerful Chromebook, it's like, why would you get a Chromebook then? If you're going to get a more powerful computer, why not just get a Windows computer or a Mac? So they fall into a really weird middle ground with just the software still, which is an issue that I think Chromebooks have had since the very beginning. So I don't know. I think Chromebook gaming could continue to evolve, but I think that there's just a weird, like, it just doesn't mesh exactly the performance and the operating system that you need for gaming on a Chromebook. But then as for what I was saying a minute ago about having another computer that I'm going to do one of these videos on soon, one of these attempting to game on type videos, I got a late 2013 Mac Pro that I'm going to make one of these videos on soon. And I'm not going to say the exact specs or anything like that because that's more for that video. But let me just tell you guys, that is so much nicer than any of these other computers that I've tried to do this on because it's actually pretty powerful. So yeah, that'll be a cool video when that comes out. But anyway, thank you guys for watching this video, and I will see you in other stuff in the future, and bye-bye.